What's up? This is Ted from marketing. I just wanted to give a brief introduction and a kind of a evaluation of my history with this game, which is not actually very extensive. I did play the old version, the board game back 20 years ago or whatever. Um, Back, the one with the weapons development, and I don't know which version that is. It's a bunch of them, but and I obviously played the computer game back in the day, which had that version, so I was very familiar with that version of the game. There was some multiplayer options back then, but they were like everybody had to be there, and it was extremely difficult to get through a game unless. And in fact, I don't even recall ever getting through an entire game in multiplayer mode. Just people ended up leaving and things. So it was not that interesting. Saw this game on Steam, bought it, but I've actually, before I started playing this, I'd never played this version. So I'm familiar with XNS, but I've never played this version. So the rules obviously were, there's a lot of differences in the rules between this and the other ones. I had to try to familiarize myself as much as possible, and try to work through the tutorial, which was actually fairly difficult. And I actually bought it and just put it down. I was like, oh, this game's too complicated, or just not interesting enough to me. And recently, I'd obviously picked it back up and having a good time with it. So it's a little bit about myself and my experience regarding it. And because of that, I haven't played a lot. I don't, my schedule, this is kind of perfect for my schedule, an asynchronous game like this. I can just do whatever I need to do when I need to, and then I can be gone for hours at a time and still play this game. So it's kind of perfect with where I'm at in my life. I can't play a lot of games just because, I have responsibilities as a parent mostly. That makes it difficult to, be at the computer for any long periods of time. So this is perfect kind of game for me. Now given that, I started playing, a few of the custom ones. I've only played 2 Axis games. This is really, so I get the sense, so of the few games that I've played in the custom branch, it's a lot easier to be Axis in here, and not because of the map advantages or anything like that. I mean, I think the 3.0 version of the game is probably one of the more balanced ones I've ever encountered, even in all the versions that I have played. So it's not that, it's not, it's not saying the game's unfair, or I'm not saying anything about my skill. It as you can see it, so obviously take that with a grain of salt. But I think it's just because of the nature of the game. The Axis can operate for the most part as independent entities, so it lends very well to you do your thing, Germany, and I'll do my thing as Japan. And occasionally we might help each other out, maybe, but it's it's very uncommon. And obviously the allies can't play that way, so you get into a group of randoms. The best you have usually are map notes to discuss what you're going to do, and that's just not enough, really. If you're taking 5 people of equal skill level, I think 9 times out of 10, or maybe 8 times out of 10, I don't know, 4 times out of 5, whatever, the Axis win, because they don't have to coordinate. Allies need so much coordination in this game to win, and that's just kind of my experience, and that's kind of describes a little bit of my win-loss rate, although it was actually way worse than this until I started playing a lot of custom games with this guy that keeps inviting me to play games with him, and it's fine. He says, okay, will you play UK and Russia, and I'll play the United States, and we actually operate as 2 independent means. I take on Germany, he usually takes on Japan. That's kind of how that works. And playing against randoms and custom games, and you usually get like silver tier and below, and you get that. So that type of strategy can work. I'm fairly certain that this type of strategy doesn't really work in the higher ranks, but that's what we've been doing. That's kind of where my win total actually has been inflated a little bit because we've been playing a lot of games that way. But these 11 losses are legit, and it's not. I don't like to. I don't like to really blame like my teammates like for losses. I just don't like it's not really productive. So I don't really do that. There's been plenty of times in these types of games where I've scratched my head over some decisions made. Like I've seen industrial complexes in Canada, just really strange things, and obviously those led to losses pretty quickly. But again, the fact that I see those strange things is not really. I think that could work for all. I don't know. Like I said, I'm newish, but the problem is that it doesn't work well with three brains thinking three independent things. Even if those three brains are really good at this game, it's hard to mesh. I think in random games. So I think that's a big struggle, and that kind of explains at least my win rate in ranked games, because I play all three, right? In a ranked game, you play all three of the allies. I lost my first game in my, the first 5 that you have to get to seed yourself, and then I won the rest since. These have been super close. Many times during these 7 wins, I felt like I was going to lose, but ended up pulling it out. The Axis, I have actually very little experience with the Axis. I usually say I play a lot more games with the Allies, so the Axis have been, I've only played 5 total games as the Axis. This one actually, this was a 5-player game that I lost, and that was a legit loss. That was actually pretty legit. This one was kind of a laugher. I don't even remember that one. I just did normal stuff, and the Allies were unorganized, and it was it. But this one was legit loss, and those guys were really good. This one was Japan didn't really show up in Russia until like round 9, so I was kind of holding off all 3 of the Allies until then, and then I just couldn't hold them off anymore. So that's kind of how that went down. Same kind of went with here. Like, I don't even remember the 2 wins, but the 1 loss actually was just recently. And this guy is pretty good. I mean, he was good. I did take him into round 11, but as I look at his rank, I mean, he's a top 10 Allies player. I don't know what happened to my headset, but it looks like it cut out. Don't know, but I'll re-record this little bit anyway. But anyway, yeah, this guy's a top 10 Allies player, so I mean, he played really well, obviously. He actually, I think a lot of it, the reason why I was even in this game, I think I got super lucky early in the game, and not that I think, I definitely did, as I look at it. I remember the first round being like, wow, I might actually win this one. And I actually knew this guy was a top 10 player as I was playing him, because I was like, I sometimes look at these, what is it? Oh, that's what it is. It's right here. Yeah. These little ladders here, and I was like, that name sounds familiar. I was like, oh, there he is. Yeah. So as I was playing him, I knew he was a good player. So and I'm still doing my placement matches. It's kind of strange that I got matched up with him, but it is what it is. But I held my own. He did beat me, and he had to overcome a lot of unluckiness to do it. So good for him on that. But anyway, that was it. I just wanted to give a little background on myself. My real name actually is not Ted. I've never been in the marketing department. It's just kind of a handle that I had actually since playing Call of Duty, the original, back in the day. It was just kind of it was kind of one of those games that kind of lent itself to playing in the office. So it was just kind of, for me, it was kind of a funny thing to be, you were killed by Ted for marketing, type of thing. So it was just one of those things. Thought it was funny then, so I just kept it for most of my games, and including this one. And sometimes I'll be in other games that might be too long of a name, so I'll be Ted from legal, or I've been Ted from accounting. I kind of move around, but anyway, that's kind of my background. So That's it. I'll shut up now. Just, blabbering on. So just a little bit of a thought as I look into some of my other games that I've been doing. So anyway, catch